Rich in lore, the Legend of Zelda series is one that has stood the test of time. With the 35th anniversary just recently passed, it has had plenty of time to accumulate and expand upon its lore. Though its secrets give some mystery to the series that keeps us coming back for more, it is absolutely full of potential for elaboration and explanation. We know Nintendo ain't gonna do it, so that's where we theorists come in. One such mystery at the end of the Wind Waker is, where did the Triforce go? While that is a good question I promised to answer in one of my other Zelda theory videos, a link to that will be in the description below, a second and potentially more important question that I must ask now is, why did the Triforce go? While it seems we are getting into the method of philosophical thinking the likes of Socrates, Plato, and other great thinkers have, I can assure you the answer is a lot more straightforward. So let's dive into the lore of the Triforce. Starting off the lore for the Triforce, we must start in the game that is pivotal to the origins of the Golden Relic, The Legend of Zelda. No, not you. You give us nothing for lore. Not you either. You barely even mention the Triforce. What we need is The Legend of Zelda, the Ocarina of Time. In this game, we get the first introduction to the origins of the Golden Triangle of omnipotent power. The Triforce, the essence of the gods. Before time began, before spirits and life existed, three golden goddesses descended upon the chaos that was Hyrule. Din, the goddess of power; Nehru, the goddess of wisdom; Aurora, the goddess of courage. Din, with her strong flaming arms, she cultivated the land and created the red earth. Nehru poured her wisdom onto the earth and gave the spirit of law to the world. Aurora, with her rich soul, produced all life forms who would uphold the law. The three great goddesses, their labors completed, departed for the heavens, and golden sacred triangles remained at the point where the goddesses left the world. Since then, the triangles have become the basics of our world's providence, and the resting place of the triangles has become the Sacred Realm. Now that the backstory has been established and the origins of the Triforce identified, let's jump into the meat of it. The Triforce itself has appeared, at least in part, in 7 titles throughout the Zelda series. However, only 6 of these adventures actually give us any real look into how the Triforce operates. The one that does not is the original Legend of Zelda. I know, a real shocker. The original game not giving much information about its most mystical relic. Shame on them. Well, the other 5 adventures more than make up for that, so with that in mind, it's time to take a look at how the Triforce functions. The first 2 titles on my list pretty much detail the same information about the Triforce. So, for this one, let's just go with the first game in the timeline, The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. In Skyward Sword, the young hero spends most of the adventure chasing after his childhood friend, Zelda. His quest? Temper the goddess sword, temper his spirit, learn the song of the hero, and defeat Demise. At the very end of his long journey, the hero finds himself in the last dungeon beneath the giant statue of the goddess. It is there that the hero comes into contact with the Triforce. For as long as Skyloft has been airborne, the sacred triangles have remained separated and hidden away in the Silent Realm, waiting for the hero to find them. Once the hero is successful in retrieving the relics, the Triforce is complete and Link is able to make his wish atop the goddess statue. We see the reunion of Zelda and her father, with the Triforce still visible, complete, atop the goddess statue. The second game, and one that offers us similar information to Skyward Sword, is none other than Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link. The hero enters the Great Palace and confronts the last palace guardian, Thunderbird. Once the battle is over, Link enters the next room to find an old man standing next to the final piece of the Triforce, the Triforce of Courage. Once Link has proven the caliber of his spirit, he is able to complete the Triforce and awaken Zelda the First. So what do we glean from these 2 games? Skyward Sword shows us that one person can unite the Triforce and use it to make a wish. The Triforce is also able to remain in a combined state even after the wish has been made. It also shows us that the Triforce can exist in a complete state outside of the Sacred Realm. Zelda 2, however, shows us that the power of the full Triforce can be used just by having all 3 pieces in one's possession. Link was able to make a wish or use its power by simply being surrounded by the 3 pieces. It also shows us that the Triforce remains in place even if used while it is in pieces, as it doesn't vanish after use. Moving on to the next adventure, we have The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. In this, the 3rd Zelda game in the series and the 3rd on my list, we don't really receive much new information. However, it is interesting to note that the game begins with the complete Triforce already in the possession of Ganon. After a battle with the Whiz Pig, no, not that one, this one, he is able to pick up the complete Triforce. The Triforce is seen coming together before Link, and Link is then permitted to wish. This Triforce is used to wish for the Sacred Realm and Hyrule to be restored to its former glory, as well as resurrect the King of Hyrule, the Loyal Sage, and Link's uncle. Information gained from this title is learned from the on-screen text as the Triforce appears and speaks to the young hero. Link is told that if he touches the relic with a wish in his heart, his wish will come true. We also learn that the Triforce can be kept by one individual, and the strength of one's wish makes a difference in the strength of its manifestation. I really don't want to cover this one, because while I like the game, it's just way too similar to A Link to the Past in some ways for me. But for the sake of being thorough, and because it does offer us a bit of new information on the Triforce's nature, we must give it a summary. The next game is The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. The hero must free the descendants of the sages along his journey to earn the piece of the Triforce of Courage. He defeats Yuga, a Lorulian sorcerer, and unites the 3 pieces of the Triforce. After returning to Hyrule with the complete Triforce, Link and Zelda both make a wish with the power of the Triforce. They wish for the restoration of the Lorulian Triforce. In this game, we do learn 3 new things about the ancient relic. 1. It can be transported between alternate worlds. 2. It can be wished upon by multiple people at the same time. And 3. It can be used to wish for the restoration of another, and presumably equal in power, Triforce. Next up on our docket, we return to The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time for a little bit more information about the Triforce. This time, for details on how it functions and operates. After Link and Zelda's combined efforts grant Ganon a red carpet to the Triforce, no, literally, have you seen a Temple of Time? The carpet is red. Anyways, Ganon destroys the Sacred Realm and most of Hyrule as he becomes the Demon King Ganon. Link ventures the land, awakening the 6 sages, and arrives back at the Temple of Time because Rauru tells him that someone is there waiting for him. Sheik is found to be at the Temple of Time waiting for the return of the hero, surprise surprise, and this is where we receive the oh so important information about the Triforce. Sheik has this to say: "I have things I want to tell only to you. Please listen. Another unknown legend of the Triforce passed down by the Shadowfolk, the Sheikahs. If you would seek the Sacred Triangle, listen well. The resting place of the Sacred Triangle, the Sacred Realm, is a mirror that reflects what is in the heart of one who enters it. If an evil heart, the realm will become full of evil. If pure, the realm will become a paradise. The Triforce, the Sacred Triangle, it is a balance that weighs the 3 forces: power, wisdom, and courage. If the heart of the one who holds the Sacred Triangle has all 3 forces in balance, that one will gain the true force to govern all. But if that one's heart is not in balance, the Triforce will separate into 3 parts: power, wisdom, and courage. Only one part will remain with the one who touched the Triforce. The part representing the force that one most believes in. If that one seeks the true force, that one must acquire the last 2 parts. Those 2 parts will be held within others chosen by destiny, who will bear the Triforce mark on the back of their hands. To get the full power of the Triforce, the user must then track down the other 2 holders of the Triforce pieces and convince them to fork it over, or, in Ganon's case, beat it out of them. Wonder which one happens more frequently. With all of that important lore of the Triforce filled in and brought to the table, let's begin discussing the last game with the appearance of the Triforce, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. In this adventure, the kingdom of Hyrule lay at the bottom of the sea, sunken and forgotten to all except the fishmen. Ganon, an evil that can be contained by no prison, crept forth upon the land of Hyrule. Having no hero to stop him, he laid waste to the ancient kingdom with ease. Fearing the end was nigh, the people of Hyrule prayed to the gods for aid, and their response? A torrential downpour. Now, why did no hero appear? I have a theory about that one, also linked in the description below, but let's suppose for a moment that my theory is wrong. As Dr. Void suggested in the comments from that video, what if a hero did appear? What if the hero did arise, but the royal family were expecting the hero of time to once again leap through time to save the day? After all, they had a great monument of the legendary hero erected in their rebuilt castle, one that locked away the Master Sword in a shrine dedicated to the hero and sage's deeds. Perhaps one with the unbreakable will, full of courage, did appear before the king, but the king simply did not recognize him for what they were. As a result, the would-be hero may have been denied access to even attempting to draw the blade to prove their worthiness. Whether this idea or my theory, or neither, are true, let's fast forward to the end of the Wind Waker for the culmination of our story. After the hero of the winds collects the goddess pearls, draws the Master Sword, awakens the two sages, and finishes fishing for the 8 pieces of the Triforce, he stands before Ganondorf, recognized as the hero of Time Reborn. Ganondorf promptly backhands him and takes his piece of the Triforce along with Zelda's. This grants us another snippet of information about the nature of the Triforce. A piece of the Triforce can forcefully be taken from the wielder while they are still alive and conscious. With the Triforce complete, Ganon begins his wish only to find that Daphnis No Hansen Hyrule has already placed his hand upon the golden relic. The king goes swoop game on the Triforce and he makes his wish. And for the first time in Zelda history, we witness something that was described in Ocarina of Time, but never shown. Like Ganon had done years before him, the king placed his hand upon the golden relic and wished. However, also like Ganon, and visible on screen, the Triforce is seen separating after the king's wish had been made. Isn't that odd? In every other instance where a wish has been made by the hero, the one who united the Triforce remained intact. It granted the wish and waited on standby. What did we say the Ocarina of Time taught us about the Triforce? If the heart of the one who holds the sacred triangle has all 3 forces in balance, that one will gain the true force to govern all. But if that one's heart is not in balance, the Triforce will separate into 3 parts: power, wisdom, and courage. The King of Hyrule was clearly not a balanced individual. But, with his spirit out of balance, which of the attributes was he weaker in, or altogether missing? Let's look at his wish. Gods of the Triforce, hear that which I desire. I desire hope for these children. Give them a future. Wash away this ancient land of Hyrule. Let a ray of hope shine on the future of the world, and let our destinies finally be fulfilled. Ganondorf, may you drown with Hyrule. That's quite a lot to take in, and consists of a few different elements. But, does that sound wise to you? I sure don't think so. In all of that, what did the king actually do? He wished for Link and Tetra to have a future and hope. How noble. What about the rest of the people of the Great Sea? He doomed them to a life of extremely limited resources and landmasses, which in some cases were already overflowing with what one would think is way too much populace for the tiny landmass to support. Wash away Hyrule? How about restore Hyrule to its former glory and guide these children as they lead it to greater heights? In his long years, the king clearly has not learned any wisdom. So, how about courage? Analyzing the story of the Wind Waker, the king does not appear until he has knowledge that there is a young boy that was either brave enough or stupid enough to voluntarily walk into Ganon's above-sea resort known as the Forsaken Fortress. Surely, he only saw these events through his Seeing Stone that Tetra kept half of at all times, until she gave it to the young hero before a sporting game of Ante-I over with the hero's body. In this story, the king guides a child as he faces down giant monsters in his quest. The king is clearly not a brave individual as he allows a child to do all of the work. What about power? Well, aside from being a really good ship impersonator, this king doesn't have much to offer in terms of power. Again, I refer to the previous issue. He let a child risk his life for a kingdom he ultimately intended to forsake and drown. But then there is the issue of the Triforce ascending. Was it back to the Sacred Realm? No, that should be firmly below them in Hyrule. Was it to the heavens? Possibly. Though, we saw the damage no Triforce does in the world in A Link Between Worlds. Clearly, that isn't a future for the children, nor does it provide a lot of hope for them either. There is also the issue of the Triforce simply not picking a person to reside in, based on their trait. The king surely should have received at least one piece of the Triforce, as the other two spirited away to find those who were worthy. But what if it did? What if the Triforce sensed that the current link in Ganon and Zelda's destinies had been fulfilled and chose others to use? What if, by wishing for hope for these children, the king freed them of the age-old curse of demise in the adult timeline? After all, Ganon was already doomed to drown with Hyrule, and that would yield true hope for the children with not being bound to an endless cycle of hatred and malice. Or, what if the king was actually dead upon his asking of the wish, so the Triforce chose no one? What do you guys think? I think the king was simply unworthy. And as Hyrule was about to flood, the Triforce simply ascended above the waves. But given the fact that the Triforce does separate upon the king's wish, I do hold true and believe that the king was in fact unworthy to use the Triforce to ask a wish of the goddesses. But what do you guys think? Am I onto something here? Completely crazy or really overthinking this? Actually, disregard that last one. I'm obviously overthinking this because that's what we do here. But either way, let me know what you think of this theory in the comments below.